Charlie Munger grew up in the midst of the Great Depression, when money was scarce and difficult to come by. He was able to amass a net worth of over $2 billion as a result of this. I'm gonna let Munger speak about 7 secrets that enabled him to go from nothing to very wealthy in this video. Welcome to Financial Market TV. If you're new to the channel and enjoy content like this, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. Also, please don't hesitate to share your comments down below and give this video a like. Let's get started. Number 1. Give the world what the world wants. It's the golden rule, so to speak. So you want to deliver the world what you want to buy. If you were on the other end, the people who've had this ethos in life, they don't win just money. They win the respect as well as the deserved trust of the people they deal with. And there is huge pleasure in life to be obtained from getting deserved trust. And the way to get this is to deliver what you'd want to buy. Number 2. Take the high road. Charlie once told a story about his father, who was a lawyer, who had this best friend and client, Grant McFadden. However, his father also had this other client who was a big blowhard, and he was always working for the big blowhard. Unfortunately, never worked for his wonderful client whom Charlie really admired. When Charlie asked his father why he would do this, the father replied, "Charlie, you idiot, the big blowhard is an endless source of legal troubles. He's always in trouble, overreaching, and misbehaving." Whereas Grant McFadden, aka the best friend and client of Charlie's father, treats everybody right. Even when Grant gets involved with some psychotic people, he would go to them and make a grace election immediately. So a man like that doesn't need a lawyer. Charlie learned so much from this story and spent his whole life trying to be like Grant McFadden. The best part is that it really works. Peter Hoffman always told Charlie that if the crooks only knew how much money they could make by being honest, they'd all be doing it differently. Charlie then refers to a saying by Warren Buffett. He says, "You take the high road, it's never crowded." Number 3. Seize the small opportunities that come your way. Charlie had a grandfather who was very useful to him. He was a pioneer and came out to Iowa with no money, but youth and health, and took it away from the Indians. He fought them and was a captain for the Blackhawks. So eventually he stayed there, bought cheap land, a super aggressive and intelligent guy. And eventually he was the richest man in town and a highly regarded huge family with a very happy life. He had the attitude of having come out to Iowa when the land was not much more than $1 an acre and have stayed there until the place became a modern, rich civilization and some of the best lands in the world. His attitude was that a favored life like his, when you were located in the right place with only a few opportunities, the trick to coming out well was to take your few opportunities that were your fair share that came along when they did. And his great-grandfather told that story over and over again to the grandchildren. Now, Charlie's mother was one of the grandkids, and while Charlie's mother had no interest in money, she told the same story to Charlie. However, since Charlie was not the same as his mother, he knew his great-grandpa was right, instilling in himself the belief that important opportunities on the horizon for him were gonna be few, but he had to prepare himself for seizing the few that came. Unfortunately, this is not the attitude that they have at big investment firms. They study a million things or they can know a million things. Whereas Charlie sits there with his Daily Journal stock and Berkshire Hathaway stock holdings and Lulu's Asian fund, his Costco stock, but of course, he's outperforming everybody at 95 years old. Number 4. Be rational and patient. Charlie looks at the people in his generation, and at that time, it was the nerds who were patient. They eventually did well, living within their income and working at being sensible. Then, when seeing an opportunity, the nerds grabbed it pretty fiercely and so forth, and he thinks this patient mindset will work for the new nerds of the world. Number 5. Avoid fake gurus. Charlie states that there are people on the TV claiming to have these books that will teach you how to make 300% a year, and all you have to do is pay for shipping and they mail it to you. But how likely is the person who suddenly found a way to make 300% a year be trying to sell books on the internet to you? Yeah, it's ridiculous, and yet this is modern commerce, and the people that do this all day, they think they're useful citizens, according to Charlie. They're advertising agents inventing all kinds of lingo, misleading you on purpose, so be wise and don't just believe anything you see and hear. Do your own research. Number 6. Keep things simple. In the investment world, there's a normal amount of high IQ people trying to be more skillful than normal. Well, this is the industry that requires so much attention after all. However, a few years ago, according to Charlie, weird things happened. One of their local investment counseling shops, a very big one, was looking for a way to get an advantage over other investment counseling shops. And they reasoned as follows, that they've got all these brilliant young people from Wharton and Harvard and so forth. And they work so hard trying to understand business and market trends and everything else. Charlie continued, and if they asked each one of their most brilliant men for their best single idea, then created a formula with these collections of best ideas, they would then outperform averages by a big amount, which seemed plausible to them at the time. But because in reality, those investors were actually ill-educated. So they tried out all these ideas and of course it failed utterly. And so they tried it again, and it failed utterly again. They tried the third time, and again, it failed. Charlie continued, because what they were looking for is the equivalent of the alchemists of centuries ago, who wanted to turn lead into gold. They thought if you could just buy a lot of lead and wave their magic wand over it, it would turn into gold, which they thought would be a good way to make money, basically looking for the modern equivalent of turning lead into gold. They were overcomplicating everything, and it didn't work. Now, the interesting thing about the situation is a very intelligent group of people was coming from all around the world. Now, the question was, why did that plausible idea fail, or how could they not know that? But that shows how hard it is to be rational on something very simple. How hard it is and how many kinds of crazy ideas people have but don't even know why they don't work. Unlike Berkshire Hathaway or the Daily Journal, they didn't suffer such losses. So why? The answer is pretty simple. They tried to do less and they never had the illusion or reached out of their reach. Keep things simple. Number 7, the 4-step checklist before investing. So, these are the important steps you must take before doing any kind of investment. Step number 1, understand the company you're investing in. Step number 2, companies should have a competitive advantage. Number 3, management should have integrity and talent. And number 4, don't pay above intrinsic value. And that sums up our video today. What did you learn from Charlie Munger in this video? Let us know in the comments down below. Thanks for watching the whole video. Again, if you're new and like this type of content, subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to leave a comment down below and hit that like button. Also, click on the notification bell to get updated on our weekly uploads. See you in the next video.